Hello there everybody, this is Donnie with El Gallo Fly Fishing Lodge, and today I've got something really cool for you as far as a fly recipe. So this is called the Unskinny Pop, and basically it's a howitzer head with fake fur and then some sort of a tail. Today we're going to tie a bunny tail on this. It's got a little bit of flash in it too, so hang around. I'm going to show you how to tie this very effective fly for dorado and aggressive roosterfish. Right out of the box here, got my brand new Regal Engineering rotary vise with a big game head on it. This is the first fly that I'm ever going to tie with this thing, so hope it goes well. What I've got is a number 5 or 5/0 Gamakatsu SL15 hook. It's got kind of a medium size or medium length shank on it. So basically I'm just going to start off with a base of thread, right? And I'm going to build up a little bit more on the back side of this. I am going to utilize a little bit of glue. I like to do that right off the bat just to give a good situation where everything can kind of bind down to the shank and you don't have things moving around on you after the 15th or 20th dorado that you've caught on these things. I would say that this is primarily a dorado fly for me anyway. All right, so basically we're going to start off with a little bit of craft fur. And some people like to be meticulous with this. I like it to be junky. You know, I have always pretty much subscribed to the Lee Wolf sort of thinking with flies, that if it looks, you know, crippled or wounded or something that's not going to be able to get away, you provoke a little bit more of a predatory response. All right, so we got this base of this this craft fur down now. What I'm going to do next is get some rabbit zonker strip and kind of measure this out, right? So that's about what I want it to be right there. Trim everything up, make sure that it's good to go. Then I'm going to grab some monofilament. This is actually 60 pound. And I've trimmed off probably about a 4 or 5 inch piece there. But I'm going to bring this up side down to where it looks kind of like a scorpion stinger. And I'm going to secure that all the way past the back of the where the bend starts to kind of taper down. All right, I like to have a little bit more glue on this. And this is just, you know, Gorilla Glue, super glue. You know, any super glue is going to work for you pretty well. I like to have stuff that's a little bit more gelatinous rather than the stuff that's less viscous. It just, penetration really doesn't matter whenever you're using such big materials as this, I've found. And I don't like it to actually get into the softer materials. So I'm going to take a bobbin. I'm going to go back probably about 2 inches. I'm going to run that bobbin through that rabbit zonker. And if you've seen some of my stuff that I've done in the past, this is something I really like using. It gives just a really good motion to the fly, and this is a good way of securing this to where, you know, you're not going to have this rabbit zonker around your the shank of your hook. It doesn't foul very much. But basically what I'm doing is I'm trying to get this monofilament through that hole that I've just poked in that zonker. So whenever I get that done, I'm going to take this and I'm going to flatten that out a little bit just to where it rides correctly. Okay. Then I'm going to kind of pull that down with my fingers and I'm going to secure this. I'll secure it all the way down to the virgin hook shank right there. Trim off the rest. That's pretty much trash. All right, so from here, I'm going to start working on basically the aesthetics of the fly now, and to kind of give it this bushy sort of a profile, right? And that profile, whenever it's in the water, whenever it's pulled, you know, it goes streamlined, and then whenever it's stopped, it kind of pushes out, and then it'll start to breathe. And that's really what I found the big trick is for these guys is, you know, once that thing stops, if it's still moving just a little bit and undulating in the water, that provokes a pretty good response. But I've got some chartreuse, and if you look at most of the bait fish that we utilize in Baja, California, it has a little bit of a yellow sheen along the side of the body, and it looks as though it's deep. So I like to tie this stuff deep. But basically what I'm doing now is I'm going to start tying this in more of a hollow fly fashion, right? So I secure this down backwards, flatten it out a little bit, right? And then I secure that down. Bring this back, and then you've got a little bit of a yellow profile in it now. And then basically you just do the same thing on the bottom side with your white. You want to kind of create this white belly, you know, sort of a look, and then a darker top. And if you look at all of nature, you know, all of the predatory and prey type of stuff, you find that pretty much true in everything from birds to fish. They want to be darker on the top and then lighter on the bottom. All right, don't worry about this being perfect. It never is, but they always turn out somehow. From here, you just add a lot more materials. It depends on what you want to do with your fly. If you want it to be bulky and have a pretty thick profile, don't take out too many of those smaller hairs, or what you would call a guard hair in a traditional sort of a sense. Something we've noticed in Baja is lighter colors tend to work a little bit better, you know, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time. So with your darker colors that you're going on top, try your tans, yellow tans, golden tans, things like that. All right, secure that in really well. I want one more good group of white underneath that belly. Just one more good thick patch of it. Secure that down really well. All right, now it's flash time. This is Ice Wing 8-inch fiber in silver, but you can use a lot of different colors with this stuff. I kind of like the silver because it looks a little bit more natural for what we're doing, but just pay attention to your bait and give them what they see. All right, trim that up a little bit more. Pull this back and secure it. And then what I do is I push this back as far as I can, because I've got to slip a howitzer head over this thing now. Okay. Then I just bulk up this, this thread in the front, because that's actually what's going to secure that howitzer head. Whip finish. I'm going to have so much glue in that it's not going to matter if I get a really good finish on it. All right. Then, for my next trick, grab a howitzer head. This is a Surface Seducer howitzer head. It's a large, what they say, but it's for like 5/0, 6/0 hooks, 3/0 to 5/0 is what it says. Eyes are 8.5 millimeter. I've got some of those over to the side, but basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick those down on my working desk, and I want to start in the middle and then kind of taper this thing down to where it's going to go towards the back side on the bottom, right? And the best way that I've figured out how to do this thus far is just to kind of pull your bobbin, put it in your vise, and then take your crack pipe lighter. I don't actually smoke crack, I was kidding. Although I do act like it sometimes. Heat your bobbin up and then just kind of slowly pull it through, right? And what you're going to want to do on the back side of this thing is make sure that you've got a pretty big head or a big hole in it, because the head of that fly or the eye of the hook is actually rather big on these things. All right. That really didn't cut it as far as what I wanted, so I'm going to do it with a bigger needle now. Sometimes you can get it the first time, sometimes you got to do it a second time with a bigger needle. Not really a problem. Same thing. That'll actually get it. Very good. Careful with those whenever they're hot, okay? Put it someplace where it can cool down a little bit. All right. Now then, we're going to stick our hook back on here. Let's brush this thing out a little bit. Here we go. I got a little dog brush. It works really well for this. Again, this is a good way to provide a lot of action, a lot of bulk, but not really something that's going to be too difficult to cast or to work with a fly rod. All right, so we're going to put our super glue on. I'm going to go all the way around with this. It probably doesn't take as much as what you would think, but there does have to be a pretty good little group of that on there. All right, you can actually do these heads in two different ways. You can either do it like this, to where it looks like the front of a bait fish, or you can do it like this, to where it's actually kind of concave a little bit more, to where it pops a lot more. With this fly, I'm going to go ahead and stick it on here like the bait fish way. And basically, you just kind of work that thing on there. Until you get it to the right spot. And trim what you got back here. And then you can start marking this thing whenever the glue is dry. If you put a bunch of glue on it, it takes a lot longer for that to happen. But if you don't really go too overboard with your glue, it's pretty quick. So I'm going to lead with some yellow here. Right, and I'm going to put that behind the eye, kind of mid-range. and then I'm going to extend this up. And these things are going to kind of all start to work together here just a little bit. So from that, I like to go with kind of a tan color and make the transition. And I like to go with a little bit of green on top. Kind of a lighter color green. And this is sort of the way of doing this quickly. I'll show you a different way later on that actually utilizes an airbrush. It's pretty cool. And I just do diagonal stripes like this, and that kind of gives more of an illusion of scales, I think. Then for your eyes, a little dab of super glue on the inside. I like silver eyes for these, and I use eyes that I can just barely get in there. Push those down with your bodkin. And then if you experience that you're losing your eyes quite often, then I mean you can get some UV resin, Solaris or whichever your favorite brand is, and just kind of go from the front towards the back on that deal, and it works out pretty well. I'm going to also add a little bit of orange on this transition, and then kind of on the lip right here, just to give it a little bit more of a profiled look, a little bit more character, a little bit more of an interesting profile. But that, my friends, is your Unskinny Pop. That tail wiggles like constantly, and then all this action of this right here, and it's got a really, really big profile, but it doesn't pick up a whole lot of water, right? So you can still cast this thing as well as what you could for anything with that big of a head, but not a whole lot of bulk, but a lot of action, and a really big profile. I love this fly for saltwater animals. I really do. It's a good fly. It's also a really good fly for bass too. So check it out. Tie a couple for yourself, and if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, put it in the notes below. Please comment if you have any questions or anything like that. Share us if you would, please. If you found value to this, help bring value to our channel. So I'm Donnie with El Gallo Fly Fishing Lodge, and I hope that you found some good out of this. Thanks for your time.